Hello chess friends and welcome to your out of chess channel and welcome to another spectacular game that I think evaluates more the piece activity than the common piece evaluation, because sometimes a knight can be much stronger than a rook, and I think this game is a perfect example of your piece evaluation, because here in this game between Stockfish and Lizard, Stockfish will first of all give up a couple of pawns, play an amazing exchange sacrifice, will even sacrifice the queen. So again, a stunning sharp tactical game by the strongest engine in the world by Stockfish 16. So let's see now what happened with the white pieces. The fish opened with move knight to f3. We have c6 by Lizard. This is now the so-called Slav invitation of the Zuckertort opening. This move is quite flexible, which allows here you see after a couple of moves the move queen to b6. Usually you should not go with your queen in the early stage of the game, but here this Lizard engine had a different positional idea in mind. After e4, d6 and d4, Lizard went now for this line, played now bishop to g4. The idea is clear. We want to play bishop takes f3, and then after potential queen to f3, we would simply pick up the pawn on d4. So this idea is of course somehow to mess up the structure in order to keep the queen connected here to the pawn on d4. Here Stockfish continues with a4. He doesn't want to tolerate this annoying queen on b6. We have now the move a5 by Lizard. If you pick it up immediately after something like bishop to f3 and g takes f3, white needs now to really stay connected to the pawn. Then after something like g6, white will simply continue here with a5. Will expand also on this side of the board. If you try, for instance, knight to f6 to stop the progress on with the move h5, then f4 is even a possibility. So here I think after a couple more moves, white would build an amazing attacking formation all over the board. So that's why after a4, a5 by Lizard, keeping now the queen over here, but also attacking the pawn on b2. We have d5 by the fish, knight to d7, and now bishop to e3, going for the attack. And you can of course take here immediately this pawn on b2, but then after bishop to d4 and rook to b1, you will also probably lose your b7 pawn. So that's why again Lizard kept it calm. First of all, plays now the move knight to c5. Stockfish continues now with queen to d4, knight to f6 by Lizard, normal development, and now e5. This is the way to go. Of course, you cannot take here the knight in order to grab the pawn, because first of all we pick up this one. The threat is again here f takes g7. If you retreat, of course, then we simply pick up this one. If you pick up the pawn, then the bishop is hanging. Game over here for black. After move e5, that's why here knight from f to d7, and now we have e takes d6. After e takes d6, again normal development by Stockfish, and now h5. Here Lizard keeps now this bishop very active here on g4, supported with the pawn, and keeps it also here on this diagonal. We have now bishop to g5. This is a good move, I would say, here by the fish. Really a nice positional idea, because if you play bishop to e7 to compete against this bishop, then we'll simply take, and then the king cannot castle anymore. The king will not be secure. So that's why good choice here by the fish. But now f6, of course, by Lizard. We have bishop to e3, and now finally queen takes b2. And finally this pawn is taken. This pawn could have been taken much earlier, but you see now what are the tactical issue of this particular move. So we have to mention, okay, black gained the pawn. Black still, I would say, has a decent piece activity. The knights are okay. The knight on c5 is very well placed. The bishop is here, but I think here the problems are on light squares. There's simply not a good way anymore to secure the king. Even if you castle queenside here, notice of course that the b file is already opened. So that's why if you castle queenside, you basically run into white's attack. So that's why here after queen takes b2, Stockfish first of all castles, and now here Lizard gets a little bit greedy, gets also another pawn. So Stockfish gave up now 2 pawns, but has a much better piece activity, and has also finished the whole development. Has now played with all of the minor pieces, has secured the king by castling, and has of course also the beautiful rook connection. So now Stockfish has tactical opportunities all over the board. We have now rook to a2. Stockfish attacks the queen. Queen drops back, queen to d1, trying to compete of course also against this bishop, and also liberate the square maybe for this knight, and then afterwards maybe target somehow the weak e6 square. We have now g5 here by Lizard. Lizard is probably calculating that there are no tactical worries here around this, on the e file, because still maybe you can hide here on d8 or maybe on f7. So Lizard continues with the pressure here also on this side of the board. If something clears on the h file, then of course the white king could be endangered. After g5, Stockfish continues with rook to b2, king to f7, and now the real fun starts. You see, in this particular position, Stockfish has almost gained the maximum piece activity. The maximum piece activity means that it's almost impossible here for white to find a better square for any of these pieces. You see, this knight is restricted. This bishop can be maybe improved on the square d4, maybe there it's slightly better. Bishop on d3 is not working here. Bishop on c4 maybe also slightly better, but black will simply get all of this light square mess. So it's almost, as I said, that you cannot really find the optimal new square for another piece. That's why Stockfish, whenever I've analyzed now really many games by Stockfish, whenever Stockfish cannot really find new activities, new improvements in the position, Stockfish usually goes for a piece sacrifice. And here Stockfish exactly does this, because first of all, rook takes b7, really stunning idea. After knight takes b7, d takes c6, getting the fork against both of these knights. Now it's really the fish that we know. We have after d takes c6, knight to c5. Stockfish grabs now the knight on d7, and the problem is now you cannot pick up this one because you get this one, queen to d5, and the fork against the king and also the rook. The rook is of course not connected, so as I mentioned many times in my videos and studies, the rook connection is such an important stage of the chess game. Notice here that one of these rooks could be lost. So that's why after c takes d7, Lizard has to get out of this tactical mess, and now Stockfish continues with knight to d5, bishop to e7. Look how bad this bishop is. It's simply neutralized. It's blocked out by its own pawns. Again, Stockfish applies a certain bad bishop strategy. It's not allowing this bishop to breathe. Knight is very well placed. It's not allowing also the move d5 by black. We have now the move h4. Stockfish goes now for the attack. Here you could maybe try bishop to c4, then it's defendable with bishop to e6. So that's why h4, a great move, trying of course to open the position now in front of black's king. We have g takes h4, now bishop to c4, because it's a different story. Now the king is more and more endangered. We have now king to f8, and now rook to e1, getting an attack against this weak bishop on e7. And now there's simply no good square for the bishop. The bishop is lost, and even if you grab the bishop then afterwards with the queen or the king, then you're running into some tactics on the e file. Great attacking style here by Stockfish 16. Knight takes d7, finally played by Lizard, and now Stockfish plays this idea, knight takes e7. As I said, you cannot take this one because you're running into bishop to h6 stuff, and the game should be lost. So after knight to e7, that's why knight to e5. Okay, here Lizard finally locks out now the e file, but now Stockfish goes for another stunning tactic, knight takes e5, sacrifices the queen. Here we have knight to g6 by Lizard, king to g7, and now after rook to d1, Stockfish has gained now enough material. There's also the problem of this rook. There's also the problem of the queen. There are many still issues. Look, the queen is cornered, so that's why here rook from h to e8. We have now bishop to d3. Stockfish indirectly of course hits now the queen. We have king to f7, trying to get out of this mess. Now knight to e5 for instance also is working, but Stockfish continues with the calm knight to c6, queen to g7, and now knight takes d8, rook takes d8, and after knight to h4, in this particular position the Lizard engine resigned. Although black has the queen for 3 minor pieces, but I think this is not a usual position. In the beginning of the game, maybe if you give up the queen for 3 minor pieces, maybe it's a different story. But now when the king is so naked here of blacks, with bishop to c4 ideas, with knight to f5 stuff, knight to d6, bishop to b6 hitting both of these pieces, so it's I think a different story. White has every piece on a good square, and I think it's a fair resign here by the Lizard chess engine. So Cool. I hope that you enjoyed this game. Really, really crazy stuff. Incredible tactics again by the fish. First of all, giving up 2 pawns, then giving up the exchange in order to let the knight who come into the game, then give up the queen. Again, really, really crazy stuff by the strongest chess engine in the world, by Stockfish 16. So, okay, if you want to see some other beautiful AI sharp tactical chess like this, check out our Come to Chess Games Played by Computer series. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.